Good evening, everyone. How you going? So, a bit late tonight, but I came across a story from 7 News Wide Bay, thanks to John Sid, who posted it onto the No Cash Just Debit Card Hinkler region page. The Hinkler electorate has been named Queensland's 3rd worst area for homelessness since the start of the pandemic, right? And the Wide Bay has also been listed as a hotspot. So, I'll give you an idea. January 2019, the cashless debit card rolls into Hinkler electorate. January 2019, federal emergency funding for people suffering hardship, right, and needing emergency funding help to maintain rentals is cut. Right, throughout the last 18 months, I have seen so many people get breach notices because indue hasn't paid their rent. Eviction notices. People have had to move between properties. And at this time, I know of 2 people who are in dire need of renting a house tomorrow. Please, anybody, right, who've been given notice to move, and because of the demand in the Hinkler area, right, Hervey Bay all the way through to Bundaberg, all of a sudden housing has gone through the roof. Rental properties have gone up. And the real estate agents are holding firm to you can only rent a house to 30% of your income. Whereas I know one lady, she's lived in one house for nearly 6 years. She's paid the rent religiously. Even when indue have stuffed her up, she's managed to pay her rent religiously. She hasn't got a blight on her record. But now she can't get housing, right? She's applied for over 40 properties. And she's running out of time, panicking because she's got 4 children and another one on the way, and she's absolutely freaking out. What can she do? You know, I had a phone call from another lady that is in the same predicament. Because of COVID, their owner has lost their job and their rental property in the city, and now needs to move back to their property that they own, kicking out 5 people, and they've got 30 days, right? Homelessness in this region is off the scale. But indue has a big part to play in this. Keith Pitt has a big part to play in this. The federal government has a big part to play in this because there is no emergency housing available. There is no public housing available. There is no community housing available, right? Even if you're homeless, these people can't help you. They've got nowhere to put you, okay? And I know there's homeless people here, right? And there's people on the card in Maryborough and throughout the Wide Bay that have had to move. There's Hinkler has now just been listed the 3rd highest homelessness in the country. That does not surprise me. Indue doesn't pay people's damn rents. You know, so that doesn't surprise me. And with COVID on top, yep, that's going to also cause more problems. Come September, it's going to cause even more problems, right? Because as payments get reduced and the rents have gone up more, I mean, the average rent around Hervey Bay now is like $340, $350 a week. People can't afford that on benefits. You know, even on the pension, they can't afford it. It's getting ridiculous, all right? And the cuts that this government, the federal government, have made to all of our services have just pummeled them into the ground. People have got nowhere to go. You know, we've got a lot of people that have lost jobs too, due to COVID, that are also going to be contributing to that. And what happens come October when the pause on the cashless debit card for the newbies comes off? How many more are going to be stuck on it? Do you know what I mean? How many more rents are going to be stuffed up by indue? These are all compacting factors. And it's just ridiculous. And of course, Keith Pitt's not doing anything about it because they're not. Well, they don't have to, do they? Government's not sitting at all, is it? It's not doing its job to look after all of the people. It's only looking after the mining companies and the gas industry. And all the rest of us can all go to hell. Okay, so I just thought I'd come on because I just saw this thanks to John Sid, and I've posted it to the national page here. You can see the article underneath this video. They don't mention the card, of course. They're only trying to blame it on COVID-19 now. Well, you can't get away with that because there's been too much of a build-up of homelessness over the last 18 months. All right, and yes, it causes mental health problems because people lose hope, despair, Where are they supposed to go? It's freezing bloody cold of a night time, or it's raining, right? And there's nowhere to go, you know. I'm astounded. Now, bear in mind that back in 2018, Hinkler Electorate took out the award, I shouldn't even call it that, for the highest youth suicide in non-Indigenous populations in this country. Right? What does that tell you? So what do? They cut emergency funding to housing, and they put the cashless debit card in just to smack them in the teeth even more. Right? And they wonder why our youth are struggling. Right? It's just another smack in the teeth for them, wasn't it? You know what I mean? This is going to get worse before it gets better, I can tell you that. It's just not fair on the people. Bear in mind, all COVID supplement pennies, right, go on the card. So those that are outside the Hinkler electorate that were on DSP and carers payments that got the $750, all their money, the two $750 payments, went on the card. 100%. Bingo. And the people that are on youth allowance, job seeker and parenting at the moment that are getting the $550, right, which will drop down to $250 in September and then drop off the planet in January, right, all that money goes on indue as well. It's not exactly supporting our community very well, especially when things are the way they are. You know what I mean? But anyway, there it is, folks. They're going to try and hide the homeless stats and blame it on COVID-19. And I can tell you now, most of it's indue. Indue cashless forced income management card. All right? Indue, refusing to allow somebody who's in a rental share situation enough cash to be able to pay their rent. Indue, reducing people's rent payments to zero without telling them. And then they have to fight like hell for a week to get it all set up again. Get the landlord to fill it all out again, all right? And some people are having to do this every fortnight. Some people have to do it every 5 fortnights, right? People like Jodie had to do it 4 times in 6 months. And she had to flee 2 properties in the middle of all of that and no access to any bloody money to help her, all right? She's safe where she is now. She's stable, all right? And she's got no chance of being kicked out. And her landlord even wrote a letter to indue to back her up to say she's got no worries, she's safe in long-term housing. And yet the excuse given to her about rejecting her opt-out was that she was at risk of homelessness. Now that she's found safe housing, she's lucky. Unfortunately, I'm getting more and more contact with families that are needing to move and they can't get another rental. All right, the prices have just gone through the roof. So, yeah, there's big problems coming up for Hinkler and Wide Bay. I don't know how many people on the card that are actually floating around homeless. I heard of people ended up in Melbourne and all over the place. I've spoken to people that ended up homeless up here and then just moved interstate just to get away from it. Do you know what I mean? Because they couldn't get housing again because on the indue card. I mean, the lady I was speaking to in WA that I did the video about, you know, the private owner doesn't want to take the indue card because he knows that the rent's unreliable and he's relying on that rent to pay his mortgage. Irrespective of how many properties he's got, he still needs that money to come in the door so he can pay his mortgages. All right? And he can't afford to be stuffed around. You know, the banks charge late fees. And, yeah. All right, guys, there's my update for tonight. Sorry it's a bit late, but I've also posted the article there that from 7 Wide Bay News. If you don't want to make a comment, just click on the 7 Wide Bay News link and go and make your comment. You know, go and make comments. And if you're on the card, if you're trying to find housing at the moment, tell them. Tell them. They can't blame it all on COVID when for the last 18 months, indue has been building a mountain of hardship in the region. Right? A mountain of poverty, a mountain of desperate people, right? Yeah. This has been far before COVID. Yes, it'll be exacerbated by COVID as more people lose their jobs. Okay? And as more people lose hours and have less income to pay rents with. And the rents are going up and the availability of properties is going down. You know, I've heard of instances where people have offered 6 months rent in advance and still can't get in a house. So what does that say? What chance does a single parent with a few kids have that's on fixed income that can't come up with 6 months or a year rent in advance? What chance does a single person on job seeker have of trying to get in anywhere? All right, you know, caravan parks are almost as much as unit rentals. You know, it's just pathetic what's going on. We need public housing and we need it now. Simple, bottom line. All right, they want to create something out of this. They better start building something and creating jobs, because that's the only thing they can do. Right? A lot of places are being pulled off the market because they're going up for sale. A lot of people who had moved to the city to work, that were renting properties, have lost their jobs. They want to move back to where their properties are, because at least they have somewhere to live. But that means pushing another family out. A family that doesn't have the ability to come up with 3, 6, 10, 12 months worth of rent in advance. It's a disgusting situation, and Keith Pitt should hang his head in shame. But they're all in hiding, aren't they? Because we don't have a government sitting at the moment. Go make some noise on the 7 Wide Bay News, people. And, yeah, let them know what you think about this situation. Because we've got a lot of very, very uncertain people up here that shouldn't be living like this at all. And across the country, nobody should be living like this. All right? It'd be interesting to know what are the other 2 regions that have the highest homelessness. They didn't mention that in the article. They've just put that Hinkler comes in at number 3, right, with Wide Bay listed as a hotspot. Okay? And, yeah, well, we're the flow on after the fact, you know, with the Wide Bay, we're next door to Hinkler. So, and houses are hard to get and they're expensive. Simple as that. And once you get past Wide Bay, you've got no hope in hell of getting anything closer to Brisbane, because rents go to $450, $550 a week, all right, minimum. You've got no hope in hell of getting anything under $200 a week once you hit the Sunshine Coast. Simple as that. Anyway, people, I'll say goodnight, and yeah, I'll talk to you later. See ya.